There comes a moment, quiet or violent, when life cracks open your heart, and in that stillness or chaos, a question rises from deep within. Why me? Why now? Why this pain? Maybe it was when someone you loved disappeared too soon. Maybe it was when the person you trusted most walked away, or the day your world collapsed and all you heard in return was silence. In those moments, the world stops making sense. Even the most comforting spiritual quotes feel empty. You look up, at the sky, the ceiling, the darkness inside, and whisper, "What did I do to deserve this?" But what if you didn't deserve it? What if you chose it? I know. That idea feels wild, maybe even cruel. Why would I ever choose heartbreak? Illness? Loss? But that's the invitation here, not to blame yourself, but to reclaim your power. What if life isn't happening to you, but through you? What if the pain isn't punishment, but preparation? Before your first breath, before your name, your memories, your body, your soul was already here, awake, aware, wise. And from that vast place of knowing, you weren't afraid. You were ready. You looked at this life, this very life, and said, yes, that one. This is the idea of a soul contract, not a sentence, not a trap, but a sacred agreement written in the light of who you truly are. You didn't sign it to suffer. You signed it to grow, to become, to awaken. And no, it doesn't mean everything that happened to you was your fault. It means something even more powerful, that even in your darkest hours, you were never powerless. Maybe you've always felt like your life had a deeper purpose, but you just couldn't name it. Maybe you've noticed the same patterns, the same types of people, the same lessons showing up in different clothes. That's not random. That's curriculum. Your life is not a mistake. It is a map. And the pain? It's part of the instructions. This video isn't here to tell you what to believe. It's here to remind you of what your soul already knows, what it's always known. Welcome to the Eye of Wisdom, a space where we explore the sacred, the unseen, and the truth your soul came here to remember. If this message resonates with you, if you feel something stirring inside, then maybe it's because you were meant to find this, meant to remember. So, before we go any further, I invite you to do something simple. Like this video, if it speaks to your soul. Share it with someone who may need this message. And in the comments write, "One thing I love most right now." So, we know you're truly listening. Let's begin this journey together. Not to become someone new, but to finally remember who you've always been. What if I told you that you didn't just end up here? That your life, with all its twists and heartbreaks, all its quiet moments and loud storms, is not a result of cosmic randomness or cruel fate, but a sacred design. One that you created, one that you chose. Before you were born, before your first breath, your soul stood at the threshold of this world, not in fear, but with clarity, with intention, with courage. In that space beyond time, where souls remember who they truly are, there was no illusion of separation, no ego, no shame. There was only awareness, and you, yes, you, stood in the center of that light and began to make choices, not from guilt, not out of punishment, but from purpose. You asked, "What do I still need to learn? Where have I grown? And where have I avoided growth? What experiences will stretch me into deeper love, into fuller truth?" And from those questions, your next life began to form, not as punishment, but as preparation. Your soul didn't blindly stumble into this body, this family, this culture, or this moment in time. It chose them. You chose the family you would be born into. You chose the gifts you would carry. You chose the wounds that would push you. You chose the people who would love you fiercely, and those who would challenge you to your core. Imagine it. A vast room of golden light, your soul standing at a luminous table surrounded by guides, counselors, and members of your soul family. One by one, lessons are presented, on scrolls of energy, not paper. Forgiveness, patience, self-love, letting go, trust. And with every lesson, you're shown potential lives, scenes like previews from a movie, moments of joy, grief, triumph, betrayal, reunion, silence. Some make you hesitate, others make your soul tremble. But with calm knowing, you nod. You say, "Yes, I will remember who I am, even in the forgetting." This is the soul contract. Not a fixed destiny, but a framework. A sacred blueprint written with divine free will. It's easy to forget this when life feels unfair, when someone breaks your heart, when doors close, when you're brought to your knees. But you didn't come here to be helpless. You came to remember your power, even when the world seems designed to make you forget. Think of life like a chessboard. The beginning is birth, the end is death. But every move in between, every relationship, every reaction, every risk or retreat is yours to make. It's not about controlling everything, it's about how you respond. That's the difference. The soul contract may place you in certain positions, may offer certain lessons. But what you do with them? That's the real journey. That's where growth happens. That's where transformation takes root. You chose this life, not because it would be easy, but because it would be meaningful. You didn't sign up for comfort. You signed up for expansion. You didn't come here to stay asleep. You came here to wake up. And every time you rise after falling, every time you forgive when it would be easier to close off, every time you choose presence over numbness, you are fulfilling that ancient agreement. So no, you are not a victim of circumstance. You are a co-creator of experience. And even in your most human moments, especially in those moments, your soul is honoring its sacred contract. You chose this. Now, you're here to remember why. Before you took your first breath, before your eyes opened to this world, your soul sat in a circle of light, a sacred gathering of souls. Some were old companions, souls you've journeyed with across lifetimes. Others were teachers in disguise. Some volunteered to love you, others to challenge you. But all of them made a choice, just like you did. This is your soul family. Not always biological, not always obvious, but always bonded beyond time. These are the souls who show up in your life with inexplicable gravity. The friend who feels like home, the sibling who understands your silence, the teacher who says the exact words your heart was desperate to hear. You've known them before, and they've known you, in joy, in pain, in lifetimes forgotten by your mind but not by your soul. Then there are the soulmates. And no, they're not just romantic. A soulmate can be your best friend, a parent, a stranger on a train who changes your life in a single conversation. Soulmates appear to wake you up, sometimes gently, sometimes with fire. They don't always stay, but they always shift something inside you. They're the ones who make you question everything, so you can remember who you really are. And then, there are the spiritual guides. These souls don't incarnate with you. They walk beside you, unseen but deeply felt. They whisper through intuition. They nudge you with synchronicity. They comfort you in your darkest hours with a silence that somehow speaks. You may never know their names, but you'll feel them. In that sudden moment of clarity, that unexplainable peace, that sense that someone is watching over you. Because they are. But among the most powerful and paradoxical are what we call sacred challengers. These are the souls who love you enough to test you. Yes, even those who break your heart. The parent who withheld love. The partner who betrayed you. The colleague who triggered every wound. The stranger who mirrored your shadow. You may ask, why would anyone agree to hurt me? But from the soul's perspective, pain is not punishment. It's a catalyst. And growth often hides behind the hardest mirrors. Imagine it like this: a circle of souls sitting together before birth. One says to you, in this life, you need to learn self-worth. I'll come in as your critical father. Another says, "You must learn to let go. I will be the one who leaves." And another, "You will need to forgive. I will be the one who breaks your heart." In the light of the soul, these are not betrayals. They are acts of sacred agreement. They are contracts born out of love that is willing to risk misunderstanding in order to awaken truth. Of course, once you're here, in the body, in the forgetting, it's hard to see it that way. You feel abandoned, wounded, angry, and that is valid. The pain is real, but it's not the whole story. Because what if the person who hurt you most deeply was actually the one who loved your soul the most fiercely? Not to excuse harm, but to offer a higher lens, to say, this pain had a purpose, and I'm ready to find it. Every soul you meet is part of your symphony. Some play harmony, some strike dissonant chords, but all are helping you write your melody. None of this means you have to keep everyone in your life. Soul contracts can expire. Lessons can be completed. Goodbyes can be sacred. But before you close the door, ask, what did this person teach me? What part of myself did they help reveal? Sometimes the ones who hurt us the most are the very ones who helped us remember our worth, our strength, our truth. And that is not just coincidence. It's love, disguised in challenge. Some souls come to earth to build, others come to break through, but all come to learn. Not in classrooms, but through love and loss, joy and heartbreak, beginnings and endings. These are the soul's true teachers, disguised as ordinary moments. And, while each soul has its own path, many of us carry contracts with similar lessons, universal truths we came here to embody, not just understand. 1. Unconditional love. Not the kind written in love songs or fairy tales. Not the kind that asks, "What will you give me in return?" Unconditional love is fierce and soft. It loves through disagreement. It holds space when it would be easier to walk away. It sees through behavior and into essence. This kind of love is not weakness. It is power without possession. The soul learns. This in places the heart has been broken open. Imagine a mother loving a rebellious child not because of their obedience, but simply because they exist. Unconditional love is a mirror with no judgment, just presence. 2. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is not excusing. It is releasing the grip that pain has on your story. It is the soul's way of saying, I won't carry this any further. Forgiving another is hard, but forgiving yourself? That's often the deeper wound. Imagine a heavy iron chain you've carried across lifetimes, wrapped around your heart. Every link is a grievance, a regret. Forgiveness is the moment you say, no more. And with trembling hands, you unlock yourself. The chain falls. You don't forget. You are simply free. 3. Detachment. To let go is not to stop caring. It is to stop controlling. It is to understand that nothing and no one is truly yours. Detachment is the soul's lesson in freedom. We come into this world clinging to people, titles, identities, even spiritual beliefs. And life, with its unrelenting wisdom, keeps asking, can you let go and still remain whole? Imagine a bird resting on your open palm. You don't grip it, you don't cage it, you simply let it stay because it wants to. And when it flies away, you bless its wings instead of cursing the sky. That is detachment. 4. Compassion. Compassion is not pity. It is not rescuing. It is presence with another's pain without losing yourself in it. It is born when your own pain becomes a bridge, not a wall. Some souls choose difficult families, broken systems, or caring roles in their contracts so they can cultivate deep compassion. Imagine sitting with someone in their darkness and not turning on the light, because what they need is your company, not your solution. Compassion whispers, I see your pain. I honor your story. I don't need to fix you to love you. 5. Resilience. Resilience is not just about surviving. It's about rising, again and again. When you could have stayed down, your soul knew This world would shake you. So it chose experiences to build a backbone of light inside you. Imagine a flower pushing through a crack in the pavement, not because it was easy, but because it was meant to bloom. That's resilience. Every loss, every ending, every no that shattered your hope, it was soil. You were growing roots before you reached for the sky. 6. Unattached action, one of the highest lessons of all. To act with full heart, without clinging to results, to love without demand, to serve without applause, to give without keeping score. This is where the soul meets grace. Imagine planting a tree you may never sit under. You water it anyway. You bless it anyway. Unattached action is sacred. It says, I showed up with integrity, no matter what the outcome. These aren't easy lessons. They don't come wrapped in comfort. They arrive in disguise, often through loss, betrayal, rejection, delay. But they are the reasons your soul came here. And every time you love without condition, forgive what hurt you, release what you clung to, sit with someone's pain, rise from your own, and give without demand, you fulfill the contract your soul signed in light. These moments may seem small, but to your soul, they are everything. You may not remember signing it. You may not recall the circle of light, the promises made, the lessons chosen. But your soul does, and it leaves breadcrumbs, clues scattered along your path, reminding you are right where you're meant to be. These signs aren't always loud. They rarely come with flashing lights or burning bushes. Instead, they arrive like whispers, like patterns, like déjà vu wrapped in emotion. 1. Repeating cycles. Ever feel like you're stuck in the same situation? Again? A different person, a different job, a different city. But somehow, the same story. That's not failure. That's feedback. The soul contract often presents the same lesson until it's fully learned. If betrayal keeps knocking, maybe it's not about them. It's about boundaries. If rejection repeats, maybe it's time to love yourself without needing approval. The cycle isn't punishment, it's invitation. Break the pattern, and you activate the next chapter of your contract. 2. Synchronicities. You think of someone, and they call. You ask for clarity, and a book falls off the shelf with the exact message. You consider quitting, and the next day, a door opens unexpectedly. These are not coincidences. They're divine winks, the language of the soul. Synchronicities are reminders. You are not lost. You are in alignment. You are listening and being heard. The more present you are, the more you notice them. And the more you trust them, the more they guide you. 3. A sense of mission. You may not know exactly what your purpose is. You may not have a 5-step plan or a perfect passion project. But deep inside, there's a pull, an ache to serve. A whisper that says, there's more. A refusal to settle for a life that just looks good but doesn't feel aligned. That ache, that quiet insistence. It's your soul remembering its promise. It doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes it's simply the inability to quit, even when everything tells you to. That's mission. That's contract. 4. People arrive and leave. On cue, ever notice how certain people walk into your life at exactly the right time, or how others leave just when a lesson feels complete? These entrances and exits aren't random. They're rehearsed, agreed upon long before you met. Some souls come to awaken you, some to challenge you, some to walk beside you for a while, and some only for a moment. But that moment changes everything. It hurts when they leave, but sometimes departure is a sign the contract is fulfilled. Let them go with gratitude, not resentment. 5. Internal shifts. Perhaps the most powerful sign of all. You are changing from the inside out. Where there was once blame, now there is understanding. Where there was fear, now there is courage. Where there was clinging, now there is peace. You don't react the same way. You don't carry the same weight. You begin to live more from the soul, less from the wound. These internal shifts may go unnoticed by the world, but your soul sees them and smiles. You are not just surviving, you are remembering, and that is the clearest sign of all. Pain is not a sign that something has gone wrong. It's often a sign that something is being born. When your soul crafted this life, it didn't seek the smoothest path. It didn't ask for endless ease. It asked for growth. And it knew. The richest soil is found in the places most people try to avoid. Suffering was never the punishment. It was always part of the process. From the soul's view, pain is not cruel. It's catalytic. Because it's in the heartbreak, the disappointment, the dark night of the soul, that the deepest truths awaken. Pain as a portal to gratitude. Gratitude is easy when life flows, but sacred gratitude, the kind that transforms you, comes in the storm. When everything is taken, when the noise fades, and all that's left is breath and being, that's when gratitude becomes real. Not for the loss itself, but for the clarity it brings, for the layers it strips away. Gratitude in the storm is not about pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about realizing the pain is making space for something more true. Love that rises after betrayal. The most powerful love often comes after your heart has been broken, not because of the wound, but because of what it taught you about your worth. Your soul knew that to learn self-love, you might first have to face rejection. To learn forgiveness, you might first have to be betrayed. These aren't detours. They are awakenings. The kind of love that rises from ashes is no longer needy, fragile, or dependent on being met. It is sovereign, rooted, radiant. It says, even when the world forgets me, I will remember myself. The eye of the storm, there's a place inside you, untouched by chaos. A stillness that remains even when everything else is falling apart. That's where the soul smiles. Not outside the storm, but right in the center of it. Because it knows. This breaking isn't the end. It's the threshold. It's the portal. Pain cracks open the shell that keeps you small. It brings you to your knees, not to punish you, but to bring you home. Transmutation fire burns, but it also refines. Suffering becomes sacred when you allow it to change you, not into someone harder, colder, more guarded, but into someone truer. The soul doesn't waste pain, it repurposes it. Every heartbreak can become a doorway to compassion, every failure a path to humility, every loss a deepening into presence, if you let it. What if the hardest thing you've been through wasn't the end of something, but the invitation to become someone? What if the pain wasn't here to destroy you, but to awaken you to a strength you didn't know was there? You are not broken. You are becoming, and the path of becoming always passes through the fire. Your soul chose this, not because it enjoys suffering, but because it knows the light is often found on the other side of the wound. Your soul contract is not a sentence. It's not an unchangeable decree carved into stone. It's a living, breathing agreement, written not with chains, but with choice. Yes. Before birth, your soul chose certain experiences, people, and lessons. But life unfolds. And so does your awareness. As you evolve, your contract does too. There comes a moment, maybe many, when something in you shifts. You say, this no longer serves me. That's not weakness. That's clarity. When you walk away from a toxic relationship, when you leave a job that drains your spirit, when you release a belief that says, I am not enough, you are not breaking your soul contract. You are updating it. You're saying, to the universe, I've learned what I came to learn from this chapter. I'm ready for the next. That is spiritual maturity. That is sovereignty. Some people think changing their path means they failed the contract. But the truth is the opposite. You fulfilled it. Now the page turns. Transformation happens in action, Rewriting doesn't require rituals or ceremonies. It begins in small, sacred moments. When you forgive someone who will never say sorry, when you finally forgive yourself, when you follow a quiet nudge from your intuition, even when it makes no sense, when you say yes to a life that feels aligned even if it scares you, that's when the contract shifts. That's when new lessons emerge, higher ones, because you've outgrown the old ones. Your contract adjusts to your frequency, and with every conscious choice, every boundary drawn in love, every time you rise above the pattern, you are saying, I remember who I am. You're no longer just living the contract. You're co-writing it. So if you feel stuck, ask yourself, what am I still agreeing to that no longer feels true? What am I being invited to release? What new chapter is asking to begin? Because the truth is, you don't have to stay where you've already been transformed. Your soul didn't come here to stay the same. It came here to expand, again and again, and every time you choose freedom over fear, self-love over approval, truth over comfort, the ink of your soul writes a new line, and the universe listens. Karma and soul contracts are often confused, but understanding the difference changes everything. Karma is consequence. It's the universal law of cause and effect, neutral, precise, and deeply just. What you give, you receive. What you sow, you harvest. Not as punishment, not as reward, simply as reflection. If you've caused harm, consciously or not, karma returns not to shame you, but to show you. It invites balance. It seeks restoration. Soul contracts, on the other hand, are not reactions. They are choices. Before birth, your soul sat with its guides and asked, what do I need to learn to grow? From that sacred curiosity, a path was shaped. Soul contracts are the experiences, people, and lessons you chose, not because of karma, but because of evolution. They are blueprints. They are invitations, how they intersect. Sometimes karma and contracts meet. Let's say you harmed someone in a past life. Your karma calls for healing. Your contract might then include meeting that soul again, this time not to repeat the pain, but to repair it. Karma creates the necessity. The soul contract decides the method. One asks, what must be balanced? The other asks, how shall I grow through it? Why it matters. If you believe everything painful is karma, you might carry shame. If you believe every struggle is meant to be, you might feel trapped. But when you realize, karma is energy returning, soul contracts are choices unfolding, and you always have free will, you step out of victimhood. You step into wisdom. Your soul isn't here to punish you. It's here to empower you. Karma may call, but your soul decides how you will answer. Life is not an accident, it never was. Every moment, every joy, every ache, every falling apart and starting again was written in the stars of your soul's intention. You didn't come here empty. You came here encoded, with purpose, with wisdom, with a map written in light. That map isn't found outside. It lives in your patterns. It lives in your pain. It lives in the parts of you that whisper, there is more. Because there is. Every painful experience you've endured wasn't just something to survive. It was a signal, a nudge, a reminder that your soul is waking up. The heartbreak? A portal to deeper self-love. The loss? A call to presence. The breakdown? A sacred unraveling so truth could emerge. Nothing is wasted. Not a single tear. Not a single goodbye. Not a single step you thought was backward. You are becoming. And your becoming is holy. It doesn't matter if no one else sees it. It doesn't matter if your journey looks nothing like theirs, because your soul didn't come here to follow. It came here to remember what you chose, to remember what you carry, to remember that even in chaos, there is a deeper current guiding you home. And now, maybe, just maybe, you're starting to feel it. You're starting to trust the inner voice more than the outer noise. You're starting to feel less afraid of letting go. You're starting to see meaning in the mess. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. So take a breath. Look back at all you've survived, all the ways you showed up, all the times you rose when no one was watching. You're doing more than you think, and you're further along than you know. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world made you forget. So if your heart feels something stirring, if your soul feels something familiar in these words, it's because the remembering has already begun. If this video touched something inside you, help others find it too. Like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and write in the comments, "One thing I love most right now." So we know you're truly listening. Thank you for walking this path with us. And remember, your soul already knew. Now it's time to live like it.